What's up, Cardfighters? Today I'm bringing you a special deck profile for the Spinodriver that got top 4, who's also my teammate, Jerry. Without further ado, take it away.
Okay. So, the deck is Tachikaze. The choice going into the event, I mean, because I hadn't played Premium at all, I didn't really know the format other than, like, the names of decks. I needed a deck that I could just operate, that I knew, and things like that. In the past, I played like decks like Messiahs and things like that, but that was interactive and that required like me to know what I'm doing and navigate a game. Versus this like is a rush deck, an aggro deck. I can just steal games. So that was like the idea with the deck. So the starter is the V starter. Nothing special. There isn't really anything else I'd play over him in the clan for this deck. So that's why I went with him. One Dragon Empire Overtrigger. Really? I mean, it's just better than the Cray one, I feel, in this deck. And then I'm running 7 crit. 4 of the Stride Fighter crit. In testing, I've literally never used this to stride. In the event, I used it to stride every game. It's that good. And then this one is, I've almost never done the effect, but it's in the deck because it's better than a vanilla, I guess. For draw PGs, I'm just a fan of draw PGs. I don't really like the Sentinel crit, but that's a personal choice for me. Plus, I knew that there was going to be units running around that were going to be like 100,000 power and things like that, so I wanted to drop 2 cards to guard that instead of, you know, like a whole hand. 4 of the grade 3 heal. The reduction in shield isn't really an issue. The effect actually, honestly, is negligible to me. I needed it because it was a grade 3, is what it was. Because this deck is actually only running 4 grade 3s. So, it didn't come up in the event that I could stride with this, but it did come up in testing all the time. Alright, for grade 1s, I'm running 2 Ancient Dragon Geoconda. He is the on-play Soulvest 2 Unflip 2. In testing, I was running up to like 3 of this guy. I slimmed him down to 2. He's more of an extender. He just helps smooth out turns. I could definitely have played the game without him, but he definitely made turns just more brain dead than they needed to be. So I didn't really have to plan out as much. 3 of the V Prism Bird. I really want to make sure I found a slot for him in this deck. I'm not playing 4. I don't feel like I need to play 4, but he just seemed really nice as a first ride to try and find my Spinodriver because it's super necessary. And also he's not bad as a 13k attacker with his effect. 4 Sonic Noahs. So I guess the school of thought with this deck is that I'm trying to Nibrios first stride, and I want every card in my hand to be able to work together and give me the resources to Nibrios. Sonic Noah does that by giving me an extra equip gauge, so essentially I can either build up with it early game and like have a rear guard that has an extra equip gauge when I go into my grade 3 and I stride and I start Nibriosing. Or when I'm starting to multi-attack, this counts as like 2 cards instead of, you know, like 1 for Nibrios, because he requires 1 for Engorge and then 5 to restand. I've grown to love this card. Blue Sprint and the grade 2 version of him, they're like easily the best cards in the deck, because on attack, Vanguard or Rearguard, put an equip page underneath one of your rearguards, so he can put it under himself, he can put it under somebody else, and then when he's retired by my card's ability, he floats into one of his equip gauges. And then I can actually put an equip gauge underneath that thing, if I want to. He's hard once per turn for that effect, though, but it is very relevant because of the way timing and things work, where I can like retire him for Engorge and call the thing out, and then I can do Nibrios' effect. Just really good. And also, him on an Excel circle hits numbers. Then last is Ancient Dragon Iggy. The new one, he was really helpful because I just needed units to come back. I needed like those +1s, and if I'm not using Counterblast for anything on my stride, I didn't really care about using Counterblast for him. He came back as rest. That was like honestly like the biggest downside because I couldn't eat him come back and he's like another attacker, but I can't get everything I want. Grade 2s. I'm running 4 Regidon. He's a grade 2 version of Blue Sprint from earlier. So it's pretty much all the same effects on attack. Give a rearguard an equip gauge so he can give himself an equip gauge. You can give somebody else an equip gauge. And when he's retired by a card ability, or my card ability, he floats into one of his equip gauges and I can put an equip gauge onto that unit. But he's hard once per turn for that other effect. Then for Mega Rexes, I'm playing him because his first effect is Vanguard Rearguard effect, so I can ride him on turn 2, and then essentially chain attack with Regidon or Blue Sprint or whatever I have, and he draws me a card, so I'm not necessarily losing any hand advantage. I rarely do his other effect where he's on Rearguard and I can Counterblast and give him an equip gauge. I'm not really about that. I mean, I would if I need the extra equip gauges for Nibrios. But outside of that, he really is just there to help me string together multi-attacks and then also refill my hand. And I'm running 4 Ancient Dragon Tyrannobite. He came along because go on. Have full-on conversation with these birds, man.
Unedited. Keep that in. Keep that in. Unedited. Just keep it in.
Did you hear me tell her shut the fuck up?
Yes.
I might keep it in. If my phone picked up shut the fuck up, I'll keep it in. If it didn't, I'm editing it out.
Okay.
Okay. I'm running 4 Ancient Dragon Tyrannobite. He's the old Legion mate for Tyrannoquake. He slotted into this deck because the main grade 3 is Ancient Dragon Spinodriver. And pretty much, he just comes back if I have an Ancient Dragon Vanguard. So when he's retired, or when he's put in drop zone from rearguard at all, so opponent's card effect, when he gets attacked, when I retire him due to something, Counterblast, if I have an Ancient Dragon Vanguard, I call him to rearguard. He's very nice to be a multi-attacker on the Nibrios turn because I can attack with him. I can, if he's by himself or he's got a small booster, I can attack into a rearguard that would be an intercept, or attack into the Vanguard as a small chip damage, and then retire him with Nibrios or retire him with the Spinodriver if I went first, and then he can come back on an Excel circle and he can start hitting higher. Plus the deck isn't really Counterblast heavy, so I'm perfectly fine spending a bunch of Counterblast in a turn, like up to 2 or 3, just bringing back the same unit. And then the main guy of the deck, Ancient Dragon Spinodriver. The whole deck being geared towards being able to restand with Nibrios as consistently as possible means that I feel like I needed just more of a flexible grade 3, and I feel like Spinodriver does that. He gets me the Excel circle, so I have a bigger board. If I went first, then I have game where I can ride grade 2, I can use Mega Rex, I can chain attack, and then the following turn I can ride Spinodriver, and then I can retire more things and call stuff out of hand, give things 5k, get an extra Excel. And then going into my first stride, I would then have 2 extra rearguard circles, which is a big game for the aggression of the deck. There was one game that was nice. I was able to break ride on top of him, and then after going first, and then stride, so I had 4 Excel circles, and fun times. The G-Zone, the main reason of the deck, Nibrios, he's the kill card, and he is a first stride restander, and he doesn't lose any drive checks. He has been errated, so what it is he has engorged, and then when he becomes engorged, you can retire a combination of 5 rearguards and equip gauges, flip any card in your G-Zone, and then retire 2 of your opponent's rearguards and restand him. The reason I bring that up is because every single round my opponent had to read him, and I explained the errata, but I told them they could call a judge if they want. And like only 2 guys called a judge, and the first guy, he just didn't believe me. It's also got a G-Zone effect, but we don't talk about that. And I mean, there's more to my G-Zone, but this is the deck. Is to just kill on the first stride or second stride with him because you get 6 checks. You're ending your turn with like 8 cards in hand with some amount of a board. And you're just trying to break your opponent from 4. In testing, I was always playing against decks that just had a big hand. But in the event, if my opponent had like 5 or less cards in their hand, I knew that I was going to break that and destabilize their next turn and then either win on the first Nebrios or kill them on the second one because they just couldn't mount a counterattack. The rest of the G-Zone is kind of just a smattering of random cards. So I'm playing 1 Pearly Titan because I'm an Ancient Dragon deck and I can. I don't remember what this one's called, but I'm playing him because he's one of them and I can. I mean, it literally never mattered. They're more flip fodder. I'm playing 2 Dogmas. This one did matter. I actually did have to go into him against a Jewel Knight player. He's more or less in there just as a third Nebrios for me. I mean, I could have just played a third Nebrios, but I got 2 SP Dogmas, so I want to play him. 2 Gaia Devastates and 2 Gaia Dynast. The Devastate's not so much, but it might be some field clear. The Gaia Dynast, though, actually, in testing, there was a game where I had 5 up in Counterblast, and I just ate my whole board with Engorge. Counterblasted 5, brought them all back for a bunch of multi-attacking, and it didn't win me the game, but it felt nice. So I kept them in there for the corner case that I could do that.
Can you also go to the touch card?
1-0 Dragon Drachma. I went into him in testing. I never had the opportunity to go into him in the event. But I feel like he's like a staple to play him. I love this G Guardian. It is the Tachikaze Flip G Guardian. It gets 5k for each of my open circles, so when I have like 2 Excel circles and an empty board, it just becomes enormous. This also might be a reason why like I don't necessarily like need Sentinel crits, is because I just have Fat Shield in my G Zone with these, and then I'm running 3 other G Guards. I'm running the Krailman Dish Draw, the original Tachikaze G Guardian. Most of these are just flip fodder, except for Blockhead Ganga. Ganga's the only one that I actually consider going to, but I almost never need to because games don't necessarily go that long. But other than that, I would say that is pretty much the deck. There we go.
Can I ask you a phone real quick? So I can read these questions. So I just got 3 questions for you from one guy. So Stephen Hoy has asked for your choice of cards. Why did you not play Raven Petro, Savage Mercenary, or Savage Shooter?
Shooter, because I know what that one does. Okay. So if you want me to come up with a real reason for Savage Shooter, it's because he has to rest himself for his effect. And the deck is an aggro deck. I don't want to be resting my regards just to get an equip gauge. I want to attack with them to get an equip gauge. Now, Savage Shooter is probably a really good card and it's very staple for the clan, but I also don't own him. That's the real reason. But if you want me to come up with another reason, that's the other reason. And then, what do you say, Raven Petra?
Yeah.
That one sounds like, why am I going
It's
there?
a DB.
See, if it's got Generation Break, I didn't even worry about it. The whole deck, I want to be live turn 1. I mean, if there were games where I went second and I had enough grade 1s, like any, I was just calling field and attacking. Like, I want all my effects to be live. I want to be able to chain attack. I don't want to have to worry about being Generation Break for my effects. Plus, a lot of the Generation Break effects for Tachikaze have kind of gotten worse compared to what the new ones are. I mean, I'm running through like a Rolodex in my head of all the ones that I know off the top of my head, and because I played the clan a lot. And I don't think there's much that is stronger than like Mega Rex, or Regidon. I mean, to eat a guy, get power, draw a card, and then also to float into something else, or come back, or whatever, right? See, I love Savage Mercenary. He's cool, and he's like a meme. But, that's it. He's a meme. Like, I mean, for real, like, this deck is supposed to be, like, lean on a lot of stuff. And I explained it to you, roughly, probably, but the whole deck is supposed to be, give me, like, whatever hand my deck gives me on turn 3 or 4, I want to be able to construct a field that Nibiros is without a problem. Yep. I mean, I was playing against Overlord one round, and he denial Griffined me twice, and I still was able to get him off. So, Mercenary is really big, but he doesn't do anything, right? I mean, he gets an equip gauge, and he's a 27k beater, and sure, whatever, but, like, I don't need beaters. All my random stuff turns into beaters because of Excel circles, so, there's that one. Oh, yeah. I did consider this one, yeah. That's also the problem. I don't read the names of my cards. I just know what they do. Unless it's subclan, right? The name doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing actually for not playing that Petra is that it is a generation break effect. I don't need Soul in this deck. The only thing in this deck that actually used Soul was Geoconda, which is why I played it, because nothing else is arguing for Soul. But I think the new Iggy does a better job than that thing does. Because that one says when it's retired by your Vanguard's Engorge ability. So first of all, it's only your Vanguard. This guy can come back from anything. Then you Soul Blast and call him back, his Generation Break effect. And then if you have one, I think it's like if you have one, he countercharges, kind of. If you got one or less cards face up, and the number of face-up cards in your damage zone is one or less, yeah, he countercharges. And the previous statement with Geoconda is that I don't really need the countercharge. It's nice to have, and it made turns very like easy and fluid. But honestly, in this build, at least, Iggy was just better.
Okay. I guess a couple of more questions that I can possibly think of is that, first off, would you make any changes to the deck after having the experience going, I believe, 7-1?
Mm-hmm.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to think if there's something I can do. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, overanalyze the decks I lost to. I only went 7-1 because the second to last round I played against Nightmare Dolls and Miracle Healed. And then the last round I played against Nightmare Dolls and I lost. I don't really know if Tachikazu's got something that can remedy that matchup. I'd have to do a deeper dive into it, but I probably would try to find a backup grade 3 I could play like 1 or 2 of. I had zero problems finding Spinodriver the whole event, but just playing 4 grade 3s, I resigned myself to just losing games because I couldn't find my grade 3. Like, I went into the event and I said, this is the deck list I'm playing, so if it's going to keep me honest, and I'm going to misride, have to G-assist, and I'm going to miss again, and my opponent's just going to face roll me, then that's how it's going to be. But the deck sees enough cards that maybe it's just one of those things I can get away with it. But the card actually that I hated you roughly using was Sonic Noah. Mainly because, like, I could probably trim it down to, like, 2 copies.
Okay.
And find something else for as a grade 3 with Spinodriver. And it might even be something as benign as the true Ancient Dragon, the Triceratops one.
Okay.
Because that just having the name is important because of Tyranobite, and that's the only reason. It's also got non-place effect. So, I mean, it's once again, it's marginal, but it gives me a circle. It's got a non-place effect. So then if I'm going second, I can just do the effect, get my circle, draw, like, I think it's like draw a card, call a card, and then stride.
Okay.
And that would just help me with the velocity. And I'm willing to spend a counterblast for that.
Okay. The other question, because this is a really interesting build on Tachi's. I don't think we've seen anything like this. I think probably since Ingerblader dropped, which, if I remember correctly, you said you weren't.
Like a month before that. Because because what was the first one? Gigarex.
Yeah.
I was playing Gigarex, and he was awful. And, well, I was face rolling people, and it was funny. But I, like, fell out of Vanguard for a little bit. And then, like, a month later, Anger Blader apparently dropped. And then when I got back in, he was banned. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah. It was definitely a big one. So, with all of that being said, like I said, this is a very interesting concept of, Tachikazes. A lot of people are, from what I remember, were doing, like, Anger Blader Premium and, going into the big stride and things of that nature. So for those players who do want to take this deck or build this deck into something that either is an exact replica or something different to that, what advice would you give those players after testing at this regional?
So I guess the advice I would give is that the mentality I had playing this deck was when I first played Vanguard and I first learned about Tachikazes was in Legion with Tyrannoquake, and then I got Gaia, and then I was playing a lot of Gaia. It's like, in my mind, it's like old school Tachikazes then, where you're killing your board, you're using your units as fodder for your effects, and then you have some that come back, you have some that have minor effects on Rearguard Circle that want to eat things like the Mega Rex, and you just want to, I guess, keep that in mind. You're an aggro deck, and you want to get your value where you can. So like I said, like, rushing on turn 2, the whole deck, don't be afraid to, like, start attacking or just make sure your things have equip gauges. For instance, I mean, like, I just blind flip whatever's underneath Blue Sprint or Regidon. Like, I knew it was underneath it because I can look at it, but, like, at the same time, like, on turn 2, if I ride Mega Rex, where's he at? There. If I ride Mega Rex and I have these two and I attack with him and then he gets a random equip gauge and I attack with this, I'm not scared to sack this to just call whatever's over here so I can draw a card and then keep my deck kind of cycling through cards and then keeping some aggression up. But at the same time, don't screw yourself, but this whole deck is built to not screw yourself. Is that really advice?
So just be aggressive. It's a rush deck. Play with the mentality of...
Your units are expendable?
Yeah, your units are expendable, and essentially, if you can attack, and if you can kill, kill. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah.
I guess one little quick question, I guess, beforehand, before we might wrap this up. How often, because a lot of Tachi players do forget this, how often were you at times trying to find counterblast for the Mega Rex effect in terms of giving itself to gauge to gain the power, or was it primarily just to swing, kill, and eat?
Yeah, I want to say in testing and everything, because I know that this deck isn't like that, I'm almost never thinking about counterblasting to give him a gauge. Unless he's like on an XL1 circle, then I might think about it, because if he's got a gauge, I almost feel like that's a waste of a gauge, because he does nothing other than get power for that one attack. And then, because he doesn't float in anything, he's not like Tyranobite, where it can counterblast bring him back. He's primarily probably in there just as like a mid combo extender to eat a guy, draw a card, and then have that thing come back like Tyranobite or like a Blue Sprint or something on a Excel circle, and then just keep attacks going. I mean, this deck probably can consistently do something like 7 or 8 attacks with one Excel circle. Granted, they're all like only like 5k or 10k guard, but still. In this build, definitely I don't really think I prioritize that on Mega Rex at all.
Okay.
So I got one final question. Are you excited for Spinodriver Reverse, if that has not been asked?
I am, because when this guy got spoiled, I was very disappointed. And then I tested with him, and I was like, okay, he's not bad. And then here I am, 7-1 in top 4 in teams or something. But
almost every Tachi player ever.
What?
Reveal disappoint.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I hate the equip gauge mechanic. So when I was reading, I'm like, oh, okay, he's kind of cool. And then the bottom effect, he gets equip gauge. I'm like, why? Why is that there? Like but no, I'm excited for the Spinodriver. I'm curious what they're gonna do. I have no idea because obviously there has been a reverse unit of him, and it's the first reverse in Tachi's, I believe, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. First ever.
who knows? I mean, I, for the fun of it, I would hope that it has the effect on there somewhere. Like you lock your rear guards, then you retire the lock cards. Like
That would actually be nutty.
I can see that.
that would be like it would be stupid because then you don't get your floating effects. But still, it'd be great.
All right, then. Well, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. This was Jerry's Spinodriver deck profile. Thank you for taking the time to do this video for me, Jerry. Mm-hmm. Until next time, guys, be safe.